welcome everyone to the Sketch Zone podcast. It's me, it's Carlos. Hi. I have a treat for you. We have a guy who's coming back on the show. However, we never really did get to talk about who he was and where he comes from and all that good stuff. So you guys, welcome to the show, the one and only Sloppy Bunny Tunes himself, Alex Major.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. How's it going? All good?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
Sir.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back. I had a really good time last time. I was
well, thanks for not learning your lesson and actually coming back. Like usually we scare people away.
Yeah. No, I don't learn well. This brain's not made for learning. So.
Hey, Dylan Draws is here. What's up, Dylan? Good to see you. I'll go ahead and let everyone know who all is. You guys. One of my little brothers is here. You guys, Charlie B. Williams is here. Yay!
Yeah. Good to be back. It's been a little bit. But I'm
Did
back.
you move?
Yeah. It's beautiful in this new place.
You need to water. You need to water that plant. It looks a little thirsty.
You know, it's okay. The plant will be fine. You know, it's got to learn to survive. Building character over here.
Speaking of thirsty, you guys, Landon Wilson is here.
Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up,
Landon? Did you move too?
I did move, actually.
You literally moved.
I literally did move. I'm finally out of the little tiny closet space that I was stuck in before that we had my desk in. And
yeah, I know. I thought maybe someone broke into your place and stole all your jackets.
Wow. Nice. So now you have an actual studio, little space.
Yeah, like my girlfriend's got her desk here. Before this used to be like it was such a small space. This desk was on top of my desk. Like that's how small it was.
Whoa.
Wow.
We just it was. I mean, obviously we didn't use it as a desk, but we just had to store crap up there.
Nice.
But
so now the question is, does she know that you're in her office?
Oh,
she doesn't know yet. No.
Don't worry, I'll keep it a secret.
Yeah, don't tell her. Nobody tell her.
So yeah, it's been what we did a show a few weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago, right? I guess it doesn't matter because we're back. But I've been doing some traveling and such. And so we're back, and we're going to be talking to Alex. But before we get into that, and it's perfect timing because Alex is a 2D animator, and fantastic one at that. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But
making me blush.
Yeah. Similarly, or along that same vein, did you guys see that Don Bluth is opening up a new studio and is hell-bent on bringing 2D back?
there you go. Champion it.
Yeah.
Charlie, turn up your mic.
All right, cool.
Or get closer, one of the two.
How's this?
Turn it up a little more.
What about now?
Getting better.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, Don Bluth. Who knows anything about Don Bluth? Besides being amazing.
When I worked at Disney, that was when
Look at him name dropping.
he's Phoenix. Yeah, of course. I've got to bring some credit into this game. So when I worked at the straight to DVD sequel place and in Sydney, not the fancy one in Burbank.
Yeah.
And I remember that's when the Phoenix, Arizona studio closed down that he was running. A bunch of those dudes ended up coming to Sydney. So I was still that was like 20 years ago now almost. So that's where I learned from a lot of those guys, from a lot of Bluth dudes. So
that's amazing.
So I just wanted to name drop and then just
flex a little bit.
You must be pretty excited for this then.
Yeah. So Yeah, I don't know, like, because my whole thing is with like that, because I opened this when I was in Shanghai. I ran a studio there, and I had that. My initial thing was I wanted to do a 2D studio. I was teaching some people to get onto TV Paint, and I think that old-fashioned like hand-drawn style animation
Mm-hmm.
is like a massively difficult undertaking because just finding people that can draw and act at the same time
Yeah.
is, especially now with a lot of people when they're getting into animation, they're seeing all the 2D stuff has all got like little skeletons going on and all these other stuff. And then,
Right.
so even the 2D stuff is not the 2D that I grew up with. So I think Don Bluth is going to be climbing a very steep hill on this one.
Traditional animation, people use these hand drawn, they use these terms, and I don't know what I feel like everybody's definition is different. For me, like hand drawn would mean,
Here, let me break it down to you.
you could still use a computer, it doesn't necessarily mean, drawn on paper,
You're
which
asking what
traditional
kind of
would
2D
be.
is he bringing back? Yeah.
Right. Hang on. I can do slight animation, but I'm not anywhere near as good as what Travis or Jack do. Flash animation is technically 2D animation, but traditional animation.
Yeah, totally. I just want to make sure we're all talking about the same things because people I mean, if I'm talking about traditional drawing or tradition, I usually use pen, use that as paper, like just traditional drawing would be, pen and paper.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure we're talking about the same stuff.
Yeah.
Is he bringing back just traditional? Or is his studio gonna be pumping out all type of just 2D and I guess I don't know, right? I guess,
Yeah, right.
Like, will it be Toon Boom type? Because then you could do traditional in Toon Boom and all these other like 2D programs, right? Like
You can do it in Flash too. You can do it in. I'm just gonna keep saying Flash. If I say Flash, you have to go in there and draw everything out.
right.
For me, my brain gets hung up on the consistency of the line stroke and everything, and so plus it's a lot. You use the software for what it is, but you have enough flexibility.
Buffering or whatever, yeah.
So yeah, for me, the speed that Flash lets me drawing frame by frame animation
So long, he's just faster.
forever, and he's amazing. So yeah, if you want to check out what he's doing, and actually, I jump on his channel from time to time, youtube.com/sketch2animate, and I'll go in there every once in a while and let him get his slumming credits down. But yeah, he's actually gone through and done
Really good. But
Right.
like his brother's like kind of like stratosphere in fame.
Yeah.
And then
Is
he's
it because of the older brother thing? Is he older?
Well,
isn't his brother older?
yeah.
That came out, or
Yeah.
person who came out
Or
for
not. So actually Aaron was able to get and then and Aaron is just he's kind of like he's just an animation god that's walking the earth currently. That's that's the only thing I can say about him. Dude is amazing. If you want to go check out his stuff, is creatureartteacher.com. And I'm not sure. I think his YouTube channel is Aaron Blaze Art or something like that. So yeah, if you get a chance, go take a look at those guys. You know who else is really good?
Who?
What's his name?
Spit it out.
those guys, the Blaze brothers are another level above.
Yeah. But your stuff, I'm not gonna lie, like definitely has a style.
Oh, thanks.
But yeah, and that's what like I've been like Instagram stalking you for at least a year now.
You Instagram stalk a lot.
We'd have to go back to like when we were doing the artist inspirations. I think maybe You came
Oh.
up on one of those.
Wow.
Could be.
Possibly.
There you
Yeah.
go. I didn't.
Yeah.
That's amazing because like my Instagram account is like I don't have the numbers, but the people that follow and reached out to me were like amazing. So like I've worked like a lot of the stuff I do now is like through people that have reached out to me on Instagram. But I'm like looking at the numbers, they're not that like I mean I've been on TikTok now for a couple of months now for about 2 months, and those numbers are ballooning. And then
So what are you
but
doing
the-
on TikTok?
I started off just posting some old animations to whatever music. Like everybody does
Oh.
stupid dances. So I
Yeah.
did that. And then and it got traction. Like my second video had like 300,000 views and stuff. And I was
Whoa.
like, well, that's more than Instagram. And then like once I reached 10,000 followers, I said, screw it. I'm just going to start just doing like 10, 15-second little animations on them and then just watch what other people are doing. And now I'm like pushing 20,000 now. So
Oh my
like
gosh. Yeah.
Wow.
So
On TikTok?
yeah, on TikTok.
Doing
yeah.
animation, huh? That's a
Dope.
new one.
Yeah. So and like I don't do anything too fancy. Like I do these like little 5 to 10 second animations, whatever, and just before bed I'll just play around on my tablet, and then I'll just post it up, and then I wake up in the morning and it's like 1,000 likes, 20,000 views, and I'm like, oh, that's a good way to wake up.
So, what are you using? This is interesting. Is it just like a little pencil test, and you find the music and you put the music to it, and then
Well, you can
What do you
just
do?
download the clips for whatever songs they're on there, and then you can whatever's like trending or viral, you just download it, and then you can use that as a reference. And what I'm doing is I actually like because I do all my work on my Cintiq or my iPad.
right?
So I bought like a little Galaxy tab just to kind of play around with Android, and then I do my little non-work. So I keep that's my non-work related doodle machine. So, and I use a software called Artflow to do my static drawings, and I use Rough
okay.
Animator, and I do Rough Animator to animate around it. So they're not complicated drawings or anything, but it's just something so I can do spend about an hour, 2 hours before bed, and then and I'll just throw it up.
Nice.
Have you seen the Clip Studio Paint is on Android now?
Yeah, I downloaded it. And,
Yeah.
it's nice, but I just got too many
Really?
softwares, and I'm like, the problem is it's got like, if I pay whatever fee it is to rent it for about a year, and I'm like, and I won't, I don't know, it's just something with this. If it was like an outright $100, $200, I would have
Yeah.
bought it already. But because it's subscription, I'm like, it's just got to be, I'm just paying for something I'm not using, because I always, on these tablets, like I flip between like 20 different apps.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
The Clip Studio Paint, Landon, that's like Procreate, right? It's like is it?
No, it's
or
a lot
no?
more, it's more intense than that. Like
Is it more
Clip Studio
intense?
It's more
Yeah,
like
it's like-
Photoshop.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's got like
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
specific tools for comics as well, so you can lay out your pages and all that stuff, and then for
also it's one of
animation
those
as well.
super 2D program. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I think it's made in Japan.
Yeah, that
And,
sounds like something that's like animated
they-
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
no, but it's an amazing. So you've got these like little 3D models you can import in, and then keep post stuff out, so you can just quickly reference or trace.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I gotta look it up. Wow.
Yeah, I just started messing around with it myself just like a week or two ago. And
Nice.
it's pretty, I mean, so far I'm enjoying it. There's definitely
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, I'm kind of thinking like, I don't know. I'm thinking why pay, Adobe $10 a month? Maybe I should just pay Clip Studio $10 a month because the program is specifically for drawing,
Mm.
Oh, I have seen this. I have seen this from when I was like, I've always been into being a colorist and doing just coloring, and they have really good coloring features and how they
Yeah.
blend their colors.
Can you animate in there?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You
Can?
can do like real animation. Like I think
Yeah.
there's animation studios probably that use it, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't be
that's what-
surprised. I wouldn't be
that's where I
surprised.
got
It's
that from.
really in depth.
Oh yeah, look at this. I wish I could share a screen, but like, if you just search it on Google, Carlos,
Yeah.
first couple of pictures you see is like looks like of this like Mononoke type of cell animation like frame, any full like timeline. You know.
Let's see.
But I'm not sure if they've updated it. But when I first
wow,
played with the
yeah.
animation function, you
See that?
couldn't import audio at the time.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah, this one like full timeline looks awesome. Like, look like you could just start out with your roughs, and then like get all that, and then just sit there, sweatshop style, and have to color all those frames in a like like amazingly. But if you have, I guess I feel like if you like Landon saying, if you got a full studio, imagine you can just that's kind of cool. Like God program, right? Everything in one. Like everyone's just using the same program. You never leave the program until it's done.
That's
Kind of nice. It's got some
that's how it
Blender
should be.
kind of thing to it. You know, just don't have to leave.
It does seem like they're a little bit like Adobe, where there's like different. I think there's like
All different
it's
versions.
all it's all like different I think there's like 5 different versions or layers of programs that they offer or something like that. But I think you can do a lot of it in Clip Studio Paint.
Now I want to know what
I like
show
real
was
quick. I
done.
like Dylan's idea. Would you guys ever do an episode reviewing viewers' Instagram art? I think that's a great idea.
We used to do something like that, kind of.
Yeah.
But for viewers, I guess that's even better.
Yeah.
I saw another guy, another YouTuber. I think his name's Ergo Josh or something. He's like
Ergo Josh.
Yeah, he does like really. He does women drawings, I suppose.
Oh yeah. There's amazing women drawings, yes. But he's like he's the Black Bob Ross, man. That voice. That voice is buttery smooth. I wish I had his deep voice. I think I would get tired of it though a little bit too, because it's always like this, always, you know. He's like, "Hey guys,"
I think he's putting it on now, isn't he? I think he's a little bit putting it on now.
I don't think so, because he's so. Anybody can sit there and be so calm and still talk like that. Like it's just his voice, and the mic that he's using, but it's his voice being that deep.
Hey, Edge Deep. Speaking of deep, Edge Deep is here. What's going on?
Hey, welcome, Edge. Hey, man.
Okay.
You've seen Ergo Josh, right? Carlos.
I know you have I.
I mean, you're on YouTube too much with 2D stuff, so I'd be surprised if you haven't seen him. He does the Instagram pinup style girls, but he's just a really good artist in general. So that's not the only thing what he does, but he just literally just draws his butt off. Ergo Josh, right?
ERGO.Josh.
But he did a review. He reviewed other people's Instagram, and he just went out of his way to just not say anything good about anybody. He says, "I'm just gonna," and it just I didn't see that coming, because he's like this like super positive dude with like a deep voice, always like saying nice stuff.
But he's
and
he'd be like the hardest art teacher you would ever have. Like I can see him being like, you get him your sophomore year and he just like breaks you. like you're getting a D- and you're barely passing.
That's hilarious.
No, but he does. But when he draws, it just makes you angry. Yeah, but check out his Instagram. It's awesome.
Yeah, and we can review it and just basically just talk crap about it for like an hour to see, let him know how that feels.
He's good. He's good because he does that construction method too. When you do the face, so like all those extra lines that like if you put everyone in there, it looks like a technical drawing. It's like you'd be able to map out all the shadows and where they fall on the nose and all the other. It's just good. But his Instagram, and I'm jealous of his like setup, because his Instagram, his YouTube setup's pretty good too. With his videos and everything.
Yeah, his setup looks like a tech review channel though.
Yeah.
It's all angular, straight lines.
You would think with all the LED stuff or like the light and the light strips and all the stuff we use at work, so I wouldn't have gotten some of that stuff to throw some lighting behind me. So lazy. But that's what it is. He has the like lighting off the wall. I got all these white walls. I should be just throwing some LED lights against these white walls, and then instantly Carlos will like my room again.
But actually, I'm curious just to bring it back for Carlos to Don Bluth. What do you guys think about 2D? I already mentioned what I think. I think the old what happened in the 90s and early 2000s. I think personally, I think that's gone. But what do you guys think?
Dead.
With Don Bluth, dead? No, I think it is.
It's a different style. I don't know. I think for sure I like a good 2D flick. But I've always been of the person of even in college and stuff like that of liking more of the influences on 2D animation and how they've had outside of the US, and not just anime or anything like that, but there's been some really good European, London, Switzerland shops and stuff like that have done some amazing stuff. I'm all about the jaw dropping, yo, how long did that take you to draw that vista? But maybe that goes to the hard surface environmental stuff. So I'm always loving the backgrounds and stuff. I'll watch a background breakdown of a Miyazaki film all day or something like that in terms of that. So I think I'm not a snob when it comes to hand-drawn 2D animation versus the computer stuff, because I feel like there's been some really good stuff that's come out on Netflix. There is last year's I Love Robots, where it was just a combination of a bunch of different types of animation and stuff like that, and the 2D stuff that was in there, what I thought was beautiful, and I wanted more of that type of stuff. So yeah, I think there's a need for it to come back and have that, but then again, I'm also of the notion of the hybrid stuff too. So unless they can do some keep up with the what's the word I'm looking for, the mindset of a 2020 in terms of what catches people's eye, and if you can do that with the traditional means, if Don Bluth can do that with his studio, then cool. There's a level of quality, there's a level of action that people want, and you guys were talking about it before because you guys do way more 2D than I do, but there's a level of complexity that has to happen in order for you to be able to do that level of work. So are you going to bring in some of the things that help you get to that faster? Incorporating a little bit of 3D in your backgrounds and stuff like that, and all the characters are hand drawn and frame by frame and stuff like that, and you're doing that, or are we going totally old school painted backgrounds and all that other good stuff? That could be cool, but what's the subject matter with those? Are you going to try to freshen it up, or are we going to be looking at animated gerbils and deer? I don't know.
Animated gerbils.
That's a good pitch. What are these gerbils doing? What is their purpose? What are they?
They're running away from a hunter. Yeah.
Then what are the deers coming? Okay. So these deers and gerbils, are they gonna team up against the hunter, or are they gonna team up with the hunter against the deer, thinking that the hunter with the gun's gonna be the one?
One of the gerbils gets hurt, and you realize its legs mechanical.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
And you're wait a minute, what am I looking at? I thought I was looking at a Disney film. This is not a Disney.
I think there are feature films to come out, even if they're not theatrically released, if they're just on Netflix or something. I think it doesn't really.
Never found the path to do that, and so I would go to the arcade, believe it or not. There was a room full of video games that people went to instead of over the internet on the Xbox. And Dragon's Lair was that one video game that was, I was like, I used to sit there and watch people play because it was such a gorgeous game.
And that's where the influence is good. Yeah, that was Dragon's Lair is beautiful.
Yeah. And Space Ace is another one,
I love Space Ace. I bought the little DVD. You could buy the DVDs and then use your remote control to play it.
Yeah.
But I never saw those in the arcades. When I was going to the arcades as a kid, it was just all the little super scalar Sega games like Outrun and Power Drift and Golden Axe and all those games. Right. I've never seen those until I think what you guys call a Sega CD. Those things came out, and then all these FMV games, and that's when I noticed first time those ones. But
the game itself. The game, I guess it is somewhat challenging because it was hard to play, but I never played the game to be, I don't know. Yeah. Dragon's Lair, to me, was just, it was a movie that kept happening in front of my face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I fell in love with it for a completely different reason. The game itself was, again, you move the joystick one way or another, and then you're hoping that the timing is right. But like all of the transitional scenes, like when he would get into the room and
really talented people, because like every time I played that game, like I never really seen much. I was just kind of, maybe I clicked one or two times correctly, so he'd walk past the little slimy head, but
Yeah.
I usually just saw the skeletal structure thing.
Yeah.
And I don't
and
think
the
I
death
really
sequences were
is amazing, because that's like, you get that same feeling. Fast forward to nowadays with 2 years ago when Cuphead came out,
yeah,
and
perfect.
when all those guys were drawing all that stuff by hand, and it was taking them forever to finish the game because they were drawing it by hand, but the result was a piece of art that was amazing, and that's kind of why I like to think people like Don Bluth and those guys are bringing that stuff back, because maybe that'll start raising the bar in other places, because there'll be a need there.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for that kind of stuff where it's like a project that has an end date. I think 2D will always there'll always be there'll be enough people who love drawing and spending a lot of time and work to do like Cuphead was like a project that's finished once, or like a feature film. But I think it's like just like TV, like, I mean, I grew up on like 90s animation, so like, Rocko's Modern Life, right? I mean, I actually preferred those a lot more than the Disney stuff, because I was like, oh, those characters just like are more fun and more instant and stuff. And nowadays, like, that pipeline's gone. That pipeline is now you create your puppets in Burbank and then you send them off to China and Korea and India to finish it off.
Yeah.
And I think, the biggest crap about that for me is that, like, when I started animation, I started as like ink and paint at Disney, and then I got into effects, and then I got trained there, and I also did in between training. So you could have this, like, there was this ladder of like going from bottom to top, or at least you could do animations and layouts. And then nowadays it's just basically some kid in China gets in there that absolutely not passionate, just need to hit their numbers, and then their goal is to basically be the manager of all those other guys and not draw, and just collect the bigger paycheck, which is like a very different. You don't have that. There's like this little bit of a disconnect, I think, which is very sad, I think, for today, that I think we're missing.
Well, and from that though, because one of the things, I mean, that's the general take I hear on outsourcing, but from kind of starting to study it a little bit more, I think there's another side of that where, like, maybe there be a look into having that for 2D now, because obviously if it does kick off, you're going to start needing those extra studios possibly to meet the demand. But at the same time, there's been a lot of animation, or either gaming for game development, as well as like visual effects, places like India, places like where else, India, and like some other places are now starting to, like, China are starting to come out with their indie scene is starting to get big, in terms of that. There's been a couple, there's been a game that came out recently that was really amazing. It was an indie studio out of China, and it kind of birthed because, like, all these outsourcing studios are there, and now you have a wealth of, like, a generation of young artists out there now that not necessarily at these big outsourcing firms, but they're starting to make their own. So, like, there could be a silver lining in that, where if the 2D kicked off, you can start getting more indie 2D stuff to come out of that stuff too, if the outsourcing kind of hit off the way it does. I don't know. I thought it was interesting with those things.
I mean, it depends, because I mean, when I was in China like for 10 years, and so I got to see, and like, like, there's a reputation of like not much talent there because they're just copying and stuff. And when I
Right.
was there, and it's completely not the truth. Like there
Right.
is a lot of very talented, very creative people there. Like I remember I hired this artist at a game company I was art director at, and name was Lauma, which means like old horse in English. And
Wow.
he was massive. He went to the interview, and I asked him to show me his sketchbook. And every other artist was like fuming. Why would I ask them this without telling them to bring a sketchbook? And I'm like, I don't know. I never leave the house without something to draw with. Like, I just assumed it's a normal question to ask an artist, and it wasn't. And then one man did. And he showed me his sketchbook, and his sketchbook was a travel log. When he went to Tibet, he went
It
to
was amazing.
Xinjiang,
Yeah.
and then, and basically, I said, hi, they asked me, what do you think of this guy? I said, he's too good for the studio because we do these crappy online games. But if you guys, but if he needs a job, like, yeah, bring him on. He's amazing and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, in his in-house test, I made everybody do an in-house test, and he was really good there too. So, and there is a lot of that. It's a problem is that like there's some kind of like young management who hasn't like a lot of you guys, like I remember in Australia as well, like everybody management, they had to just work their way up, and they've done all the crappy jobs. And then here, because in China everything's moving so fast, a lot of people inherit high jobs without going through that. So a lot of times they skip through a lot of talent because they just they're not looking at the talent, they're looking at just other stuff as well. So they miss it a lot of times. And I remember that guy, I hired him at a really, really low rate, and that he deserved. And then he was happy to get it because he couldn't find work. Like he applied, and like I was like, how do you not? And then we're still friendly now. Like he doesn't speak English, and my Chinese boy, so we usually have mutual friends who translate between us. But yeah, and then like I had another studio as well, and then I had a girl, and I just taught her, how to be creative. And she was like one of the first girl who kind of saw how I got my references. And then she would we were doing this game, and I wanted textures, and instead of going to Google to download textures, she actually went to the shops and bought a bunch of like material, like fabric, and then she would take photos of it.
She gets it.
And I was like, that's amazing. And this is all Chinese people who spoke broken English at best. So this is not like, but it's just very hard to find them. There's you really need to be on the ground there to find these people, because that person who's super qualified to work on your project abroad is not the one that's being assigned that topic, because there's a lot of times they're missing that, which is a shame. But I think as you said, that as it's growing, these people are coming out, the shelves, because as you said, it was an indie studio, so it is probably took somebody finding these people to put together. So because there is a very good there is probably going to be a time when there's a lot of good stuff coming out of China. The infrastructure is not there yet. Like they don't have that indie scene like we do, like an artist alley. An artist alley in at San Diego Comic-Con. Like they have a couple of comic conventions there, but it's not like that thing. People still go there. Like China Joy will be the big one, and then people just go there to cosplay and stuff like that. Or like if you go to the other one in Hangzhou, they have two big conferences on at the same time, one for fans and one for business. And you could see this massive disconnect between the two. And then everybody's there is just like everybody, like when I go to the business one, everybody's there telling me how they're the next Pixar. Do I want to be on that journey? And I'm like, no. I was like, you guys, like that's not how Pixar started. Pixar didn't start saying we're going to be the next somebody. They just had great ideas. Like, tell me, what are your ideas? What are the stories? What are the projects we want to do? I don't give to it's like who we're going to be the next of, but it's changing.
Let's go down that path. Meaning, what was your question, Charlie?
I was saying, what do you mean? I think we need to break that apart so people can understand, because on the surface it just sounds like not to work with those studios and just work on your own stuff. But are you saying to work in tandem?
Right. What I'm saying is, while you are working towards working at those studios, instead of, because like when we were coming up, Instagram wasn't around and everything, and we always spent our time looking for, not, I don't know why I did this.
It's the bunny thing. I'm
Yeah,
influencing
that's right.
you.
Sloppy bunny tunes. There you go. Good save,
Yeah,
Alex.
your fingers need to be a little bit more bent to symbolize sloppiness.
But no, while you're working your way towards those bigger studios, you don't need to do this anymore. You don't need to work on someone else's stuff for exposure.
Oh,
See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say you could, for example, we brought up Cuphead just a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Cuphead was literally two brothers that got together. They wanted to make this video game just because they wanted to make a video game. All of a sudden, not all of a sudden, it took them years to get the wheels rolling. And then when they did the Kickstarter, that was funded successfully because people are thirsting for 2D goodness. And now that they had a successful Kickstarter and all this stuff, now they have a full-on video game company. Young artists, I'm talking to you, and even some of you old heads too. What makes you hireable? When you show that you can take a story, write a solid story, do the concept, have everything done, you and a handful of your friends, you can get a couple iPads, you can get a Cintiq, you can get whatever, or even build your own video game like these brothers did. And then when you go to a portfolio review or you go for an interview, you say, oh yeah, here's my story that you can stick to. And if you want to be an illustrator, keep illustrating. The things that will separate you, and there's a lot of illustrators that we've no piece
process. I don't know. I'm sure you guys do. There's something about it when you see the lines and stretches. It's always fascinating when they say that, and especially when we have people on the show that have like amazing, finished stuff. Mm-hmm. People are chomping at the bit for their process stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean that's it. And we're who knows? You might. There's a lot of people making money off of YouTube by being animators. Mm-hmm. And then like I've done this a whole bunch. I've put up animations and different ideas that I've had. I put it on YouTube, and then I go to a client and I say, I think this
one, because a lot of times like you don't have it on your phone or your phone runs out of battery. You just need to go to somebody, go like, can you show me some of your stuff? And I'm like, yeah, my Instagram, because people my age don't have TikToks, but but I'm the only one.
That's wild. You like, can I see your stuff? Yeah, I'm on TikTok.
I see that you can make money on TikTok too, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can't because I'm not in America. You need to be in America, and then because the Creator Fund, they do it just for certain regions. So you have to have 10,000 followers, and then you can be part of it, and they pay you a whopping 3 cents for every 1,000 views. And
wow.
But so I mean, you can make money going live, but if you're in animation, like you can't just go and animate live. So you need to be able to talk and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And people give you, and then also like I'm not sure how the algorithm, but because I'm doing animation, it's just cartoons. So like 80% of my followers are like $10, they're 10 years old, not $10, but 10 years old. So like I don't want to go on live and then talk about, hey, support my channel to a 10-year-old, to a bunch of 10-year-olds watching, and they go like asking their parents to throw $1 your way. So
give me just 10% of your allowance every week, and
that'll help me pay my bills. Comics first, and then I did indie comics in Australia. Like I start off like I'm from all over the place. I was born in Austria, mum's Hungarian, dad's Polish, and grew up there for a while. Went to Australia.
I was in Austria last year.
Did you? Oh, nice. Where did you go?
Vienna. Well, first Salzburg and then Vienna.
Okay, I was born between that in a village called Vöcklerbruck, which is just above the Attersee, which I think for Americans they're like, oh yeah, I know what that is. North
don't.
Austria. It's but yeah. So anyway, so that's like my background. I wasn't really interested in making cartoons till I was like 17. So I started drawing then, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'll make comics. And then I was just drawing in high school. And then I was just submitting to a bunch of places. And I also went to the US for a year and to finish high school as an exchange student in Utah. Which they tell me that's nothing like the US, but
yeah,
for me, for a foreigner, I was like, it did remind me of it because it was like going to high school. It was like a bunch of white people with a token black person, and we all just hanging around the lockers and just gossiping. And I was like, that is totally like TV. It's like, this is like TV. I got to ride the yellow bus. I was like, this is the best thing. And then, yeah, like going to like the homecoming and all the football games and stuff like that. We don't have this anywhere else on the planet. So, because I went to school like in Europe and Australia, and it's not there is no, that school atmosphere does not exist anywhere. It's just like,
you guys don't have yellow buses?
No, we don't. It's like a regular bus, and in Australia it's like a regular bus, and they write school bus instead of the regular number and destination, so it looks exactly the same.
That's efficient.
That's lame.
Yeah, they're just saving money, cutting corners.
Yeah, they just.
So Charlie, are you trying to say something?
So the dynamic of high school and like the way it is just not. It's not the same over there. It's just a lot more plain.
It's a lot more plain. I mean, in Australia we had school uniforms, so that was one thing that was different. And they're not even cool ones like the Japanese ones. Like you can't even like there's no robots or anything. So it's kind of
no.
So our high school sucked.
That's write that down.
Yeah. So but the thing was also you don't have this year mixing. Like I remember when I went to high school, it was really bizarre for me that like I would go into a classroom and there's people different ages than me because you've got like the sophomore, freshman, junior, and all that stuff, and seniors. We don't have that. You don't have that in Australia. You don't have that in Hungary. You're just like everybody in your class is like within 1 year's range of how old you are.
Okay.
Oh damn.
So. And then also like all the subject selections, like in the US, there's like a lot more subjects to choose from, like your electives and stuff like that. In Australia, we don't. I mean, we didn't have that when I was there. This is like I left Australia in '97, so I don't know if schools changed. And then so there was that, and so I went to the US, and I had a really good art teacher there, Mr. Weiberg. He's a very good art teacher.
Mr. Weiberg.
Yeah, he has He has an Instagram account. He's like just does these beautiful landscape paintings, and like he's a traditional artist as an artist. But I remember like he knew that I had interest, so he was kind of pushing me and then helping me to have more art related classes. And he knew comics was my thing, so he was pushing me to draw the cartoons and comics and stuff like that. So he's really cool. He's a very good, influential guy for me. Yeah. And then I came back to Australia and I said, all right, I could do comics. So I got rejected by every one of them in the US, Wildstorm, DC, Image, and all these other stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, screw them, I'm going to start my own company. And I did. I started my own little small press company. And I published my own comics. And then they went good.
Was this when you were still in Australia?
Yeah, so I came back to Australia and I started registered a little business for publishing. I just thought it was an idea, yeah.
And I'm sorry for interrupting, but
most Australian artists they'll complain that it's not enough. Sure. But we have a government funding. They give grants, and as far as I know, like for film, the US doesn't have government grants for films. It's just all Hollywood business. Is that right?
Yeah.
So we have.
I mean, there might be something smallish, but for the most part.
Yeah, because like if you see like some Australian film or TV show that's done well, you'll see that there's like some kind of either Victorian or New South Wales government or like an Australian Film Commission or something like that. Yeah. So they do have it, but I'm not in that clique, so I get zero support from the government. I just draw, and I'm hoping people either then buy it or not. I mean, you
hope people kick in on TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking I'll wait 20 years. There's going to be this thing called TikTok, and I'm going to go viral. Uh, that was my battle plan. But in the meantime, let's do these comic books. So I went all in, found a printer, paid a couple of $1,000s, found a distributor that would take my comics and send them around Australia. And it was
What
like a
kind of
colossal
comics?
fun.
What kind of comics were they?
Well, they were like American formatted comics, but they were more cartoony in nature.
Sure.
So I was watching so I like all the indie stuff like slave labor comics. Like I love Milk and Cheese, Yonan Vasquez, and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
The Marvel DC stuff, like it's what like everybody around me wanted to be a part of, and that was like the holy grail. But I was like, I don't like Wolverine. Like so much going. I mean, I like the way Wolverine looks, like this badass thing with claws. But I was reading these, trying to get into these comics, and it was just too much lore for me to get into. Just I was like, there's just too much. So
Yeah.
I like the. I didn't mind superhero. Like I like Spawn because I could collect all the Spawn comics at the time, so I could get to #1 and get. I loved
Spawn was
Witchblade.
amazing.
Spawn. Yeah, and Witchblade and Gen 13 and DV8 and all this other stuff I liked. I got into it, but all the Marvel and DC stuff, I was like, Batman started like 70 years ago. I can't catch up. I don't have the attention for it. So I did that, and I did comics for a while, for about a couple of years, and eventually I stopped doing because I couldn't afford. I didn't make any money, so I can't just throw thousands of dollars on my midnight graveyard shift job working at 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. at a hotel to pay for all of that. And then I found a little ad at Disney, like in the newspaper. Disney would post a little ad for you to apply. And that was their only little ad. And they had a studio in Australia where they did all the sequels. And so there was another friend of mine who was who was also a comic artist. Who was actually one of them encouraging guys. His name's Daniel McGregor, and he's like a talented animator. I think he's at Bardell in Vancouver now. I've been in touch for a while, but he was like a dude that pretty much was like one of the first guys who does draws as well. And then I saw an ad and I said, dude, you should apply because he's super talented. And I was like, you're like legit talent. You go for it. He applied and he got in. And then I mean he probably had like a lot of other people influence him towards that, but I remember I talked to him about it, and then he did. And I went and visited the studio, made some friends at Disney, and then they were like, "If you really want to work here, just apply." So I applied, and then I got all the way to the end, and then after the interview, I got a nice rejection letter, so I got bummed, and then I applied again.
They said we're planning on.
I said, yeah, you don't like Wolverine. We're purchasing this in 29 years, so no.
And then it's signed by Logan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I went to the same university as Hugh Jackman, so.
Oh.
So that was it. So we went.
So your comments cut a little deeper then.
Yeah. So they were like, "Yeah, I'm just burning bridges." Just like,
the pause.
I just go there with just like a lighter. Every time I see a bridge. So we did that. So yeah, no, I didn't. And then I don't know why, but I figured I'll just apply again because there's just no other studios in Australia. And it wasn't even I wanted to work in animation. I just wanted to draw for a living. That's it. I just wanted to have paper, pencil, drawing, and that's how I want to pay my bills. Like was comics, characters, I don't care, that's it. So, and I was like, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea. I applied again. And then when I applied, they didn't do a test. They just sent me a letter to say, yeah, okay, cool, work here. So
really? On the second time?
The second time, they didn't even have to do a test. I just got like a letter that says, yeah, you can start in 5 months. So I was like, I had 5 months.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So because I did all the tests before, so I did.
So you're on file, basically.
So I already did all the tests, and I just think like when I went in the interview, when I spoke, I probably just sounded like a moron, and they were like, "Yeah, nah, got other people."
We got other people, nah.
So they were like, and then the other one, and then next they were like, "Yeah, we just don't have enough people, so yeah, okay, he can." So, and I went in there and I did and then basically the in between training, and it's like this boot camp where you just draw all the time, and then you do. I remember to do one frame at the first time, I could barely do it in 10 hours, and I remember that you had to do 16 of those a day.
Whoa!
And I was like, how are we gonna keep it? And I saw everybody's line work, this laser line stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna cope. And then so yeah, and then after I did that for 6 months, and then at the end of the training, they were like, look, Alex, you got the passion, you love it and stuff, but unfortunately, there's not enough. I can't put you into character in between. But if you really want to stay at Disney, we have a spot at Ink and Paint. So I did Ink and Paint for a while, and I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm inside.
That's it.
I'm in the door. That's it.
Don't let me go.
Yeah.
So what's the Ink and Paint?
I was just basically using what it was before. It was called Toon Boom. It was called US Animation, and I would just color in the characters. So it was just like color fill the things, and you had to do the ink lines, which killed me because like Timon had 13 different shades of line work, just line work. It was like 30 shades of brown, and I was like, this is. I was like, oh, it's gonna go back. You can
use this color brown
but it was still like he had his cheeks were different colors, and then some stuff like because like some of the ink lines were just to color the shade so it looks flat, so you don't have a line work separating it, and other ones were just like different tones, like the lips, like the lips and the inside of the lips was one color, and the ink line was a different shades of red, and I was just watching it, and I was like, "Oh, why is so much effort into this? This is
why is there so much effort?"
The payoff was just not enough. So I was just like, no. And then
do you ever get any of them like sent back because you only did 12 different colors? 12 different shades.
Yes, get wrong. Yeah, you do. But then eventually you kind of become a robot to it. So you do. So usually most of the stuff was because it was vector, it wouldn't cut properly. So you had to cut the lines in a way to be smooth. Mm-hmm. So that was, you got mostly called out on that. And I remember when I was watching, because like I was working on Lion King 1.5. And I remember we watched Lion King 1 for reference, which was the first time I saw Lion King. And but I was not a Disney fan until I left. I didn't until I left. Like I wasn't like I'm sure this is going to break a lot of people's hearts, but like when people mostly apply for Disney, they have this thing. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to work for Disney, and I was like, I just wanted to draw, and this was the only place you could draw. That was so went from a different thing. So I didn't have. I mean, now I'm actually I did love it. Like I loved Lilo and Stitch. I saw it in the movie 6 times, and then was stoked when we got to do the sequel. And I've rewatched all the classics, and I love the Disney shorts and all that. So I'm a fan now. But
wait. Oh, you are fake.
Yeah. I had a bunch of DVD box sets though. So there you go. I'm old school fan.
I thought it was super interesting where you gave a little bit of a glimpse of the process of like the regiment, you know, from what it was when you were on the animation side of, like you said, it was 16 frames a day. Right?
Yeah, we had a
versus the Ink and Paint version, which what was that regiment? Yeah.
Well, Ink and Paint was basically, I think we had to do because for drawing you have like a lot more people and it was a lot faster. So we had to do, I think it was, top of my head, was 500 frames, I think, a day.
Damn.
I think it was something like that. So
it sounds like a lot, which I know it is, but I just don't know how.
Well, it's the thing is that you'll like if you got like a scene, it's got like whatever 160 drawings in it. You know, you'll literally in about 20 minutes, you color fill the base color, and then you'll spend another 3 hours doing the ink lines on it. And the ink line, depending on how much, like, it really depends on the characters. Like if it's like a character like Timon, I remember had like a crazy amount of ink lines because of he had a detailed face, he had his little hair. And I remember that was a pain in the ass. And then we had Pumbaa, and Pumbaa was a more simpler character, especially for colors, for ink lines, because that's what I remember and stuff. So he was a lot easier. Yeah. So I remember, we had, but our quota for ink and paint wasn't as hard because we didn't have bonuses set on our quota. And the drawing people, you had a bonuses set on your quota. So we were small. In campaign was relatively small. Like we had, I think it was like 6 to 8 of us, if I remember correctly. And then for effects, and then I went to the effects team. So I ended up drawing at Disney. But what was they had a thing for they wanted to find internally people to draw effects. And then everybody applying for it was people for the position was for people that were just kind of wanted to move away from characters and just have it a little bit easier. So if you're like, drawing complex characters, it's a little bit harder to meet your quota or do bonuses. And you usually, for a lot of these people, you go to effects because it's a little bit simpler. They're not as strict and stuff like that. But for me, I was going from in-campaign. So everybody could do it during their work time and make it count as part of the work. I had to do my scenes in my own spare time, do my things. And then the guy who was in charge, Julian Hines, he was also he was also on Osmosis Jones and Anastasia and Titan AE and all that. He was nominated for an Annie Award on Anastasia, I think. So he was also one of the influential dudes for me. So he was like, I'm just gonna grab that dude who did everything in his spare time. Although I was probably nowhere near as quality as the other guys, but he just saw that like this guy wants it. The other people wanted to just have an easier time, and this dude wants to draw. And then I never even thought about effects. And then like I got there, and even to this day, like I try to add effects to my stuff because I just think it's interesting. I like extra splashes. I'll spend a little bit more time on splashes, or you know what? I like just like I can zen out on just doing little dust stuff. So so you'll see like a lot of zip dust coming in my little animations. It's just okay, cool. There'll be half an hour. Just listen to a podcast and go. And then so I did that. So and then I was at Disney. So then I was just there in effects for like 5 films, and then the animation thing was like then the studio was being shut down, and I wasn't moving up, and I was like. I don't even know. I was a bit like, what I want to do with animation, if I want to do it anymore or not. And so there was an animation degree opening up at UTS. And I was like, let's do a uni life. Like I was like, I'm single, don't need money. Let's do uni. So, and I wanted to travel. I know that you can't apply for jobs without having for abroad without having some certifications. So, and I was like really tired of Australia. Like I really wanted to leave at almost all costs at the time.
Wow.
And then, which is why it's like, it's very recent. Like I've been gone for 13 years. I'm really been just back for a couple of months. So I was
wow.
So I was, so I did my uni degree, passed. My uni film was, it was good in the film itself is a disaster, but it was really good learning experience because like I got all these people like I got a sponsor, I got a producer, I got all these. I managed to organize at one stage. I had 70 people on set because it was a live animation mix. And I was like, even I don't care how this film works out, but basically there's a line of people waiting in front of a bush and a Red Bull car driving around in circles. And the plot line is that everybody's lining up to get $20 from aliens because they instead of abducting people for anal probes, they're paying them $20. that was like, that's a great premise. My teacher didn't want to pass me because she was like,
depending on the test, you might be able to.
Yeah, so we had all that, and I got to work with a lot of cool people through it. Like I had a very cool DP guy who taught me everything. And pretty much to this day, what I do in Final Cut is that through this guy, he would sit down and walk through editing with me. So I learned a lot on that film. That just having having an actual sponsor for a student project was pretty cool. Like have Red Bull send out a car and then have everybody, because I don't know how I'm going to get 60 people on set. So I was like, okay, so we get like Red Bull, so have a sponsor coming in and then they'll give out stuff and then people will get free stings on set. So that was it. All got free cans of unlimited Red Bull.
Nice.
So I did that, and then I graduated, and then there was no job afterwards. So I taught English in Korea for a year. I was just not getting any work, and I was like disenchanted with the whole thing. And then I just like, I'll go for a year, just take a gap, switch off, switch my mind off of it, and then see what I want to do with life. So I did that. Went to Korea for a year, taught kids, and after 2 years, 2 days, I was like, yeah, teaching kids art is not what I want to do.
It's challenging, very challenging. Yeah.
I was like, I don't like people 25 years and younger.
Wow. Like people 25 years and younger.
So
real quick, let's go back to one of the things that you said.
Like I said, it could be
Charlie
like
talked. But no, what you want to do is you as an animator creating your own stuff and putting it on errors, so you're going to be looking way more attractive than someone who hasn't made content. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, for example, everyone here, we can probably, it's probably safe to say, if you look at our resume, you're going to can learn software. Not a lot of people can say, I've made 3 of my own films and I've learned so much from that. People focus on that because you're learning to be more efficient, and a hiring manager can take you and put you in a spot and you're hitting the ground running, which is what they're hoping to get. Because Alex, tell me if I'm wrong, time is money. If it takes you way longer to come up with a certain amount of frames, I know I would rather hire someone that's a little quicker because I'm getting more bang for my buck. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're wrong, Carlos. No, I just wanted to say that. No. I mean, going to that point, the thing was like, I remember I watched an interview with I'll listen to a bunch of interviews. So I remember watching an interview with Don Hahn, and I remember he had like one advice was just basically just to have a life experience, like to get your stories or whatever. Yeah. And I think that's just what it is. Like, I try not to let failures let you down, because like on one end, like my comic book publishing business was like financially it was not a success, but I was 19 years old. I learned how to deal with a printer. I knew I had an experience of dealing with a distributor. I flew around, I suppose you can count the world, because I went to Chicago to, sell comics, to see how it works, just to see how it's done. Because even if you don't know, you just need to see it. A lot of times it's just about it's just about experience it a little bit. Like, I mean, like going to, like, I remember, like, I'm not in the US, or like, there's not I wanted to heard about Angoulême. The first time I heard about Angoulême, I went to France and take a look at it, because the biggest comic convention is there, and it's comics, and it's from all over the world. It's not just Marvel, DC. And I've been to San Diego a couple of times as well. That was interesting appearance. And then you just talk to people. Like, I mean, I'll give you an example. What I've learned from that stuff is like what I'm doing now is I'm working with stand-up comedians and I'm animating their gags. So I'm working with
that's a great idea.
And because they're storytellers, and I just like to, and I just did a clip, and I'm going to be doing hopefully more with Felipe Esparza. He's like a Mexican comedian, very funny dude. He's on Netflix a bunch. So I just finished my first clip with him. And I'm also working with another funny lady called Angelina Spicer. She's also she's sending me scripts and stuff.
That's awesome.
And what I did was, I did once on Instagram. I saw there was this comedian following me, and at the time he wasn't a full-time comedian, but he had a really funny face. I drew his face and I put it up there for fun. He contacted me and we ended up just talking. And then I was like, and I ended up talking to more comedians, and I was like, you know what? I bought a plane ticket. I went to the Comedy Store and met them all in person.
Oh wow!
I was like, because I was like,
that's a championship move right there, dude.
But you know what? That helped me so much. You know what? That helped me so much, because like now, because there's a face to it.
Yeah.
I'll talk to it. And like, I met up, I'm working with Michael Yo as well. He was on AGT just recently. I do his podcast covers. And
Yeah.
then I also work with, so yeah, a lot of all that stuff because I got up there and went and met up with people. And then it's like, yeah, that could have failed, but I was like, I really want to do this. I want to see if this is legit, like, if there's a chance. And if I went there and it's like, and I think that's pretty much I learned from just doing that movie because I approach a lot of people then.
Yeah.
And then same thing when I did with my comics books. I was like, I'm just going to do it. And then when I go to other places, and then also with the animation studio that I built in Shanghai, it was because of those experiences, I wasn't as scared. I already failed at a couple of things, so I could say what failed, what I didn't fail. And and that was also word of mouth. So I was like hanging out, like, I mean, if you got a lot of young people, like one thing as well, like I'm not very good at the traditional click stuff. Like I don't do much studio stuff. I milk my Disney stuff more than that guy. It's just something I milk for work. And I remember when I went to Shanghai, because like instead of looking for other animators, I actually went to a lot of these expat business card meeting swaps. And because I was the only guy, I was the only animation guy there, and they were all doing swapping business. So if anybody needed cartoons, they didn't know anybody else except me because I was just circling around there. And so I think that also, like, I think a lot of young people watching don't get too obsessed with the Disney and the big name stuff because you'll get a lot of other opportunities just a little bit thinking outside the square.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell. This options when they had streaming built into Procreate, he loved it.
Yeah, I think that's like, I mean, it's what I always think that I was born either 20 years too late or 20 years too early. Like, because like, if I was born 20 years earlier, that's like the hand-drawn animation and all that stuff. There was like a clearer road and stuff, and you could do it. Or now, like all this technology that we have now, I wish I had 20 years ago. Like,
completely.
Having an iPad and just having an app. I mean, you can do a full production, like a small indie production on iPad, like completely from soup to nuts.
And I dare say 100% on the iPad.
Yeah. I think you still have like some post-production stuff. Like you still need to, like if you do like a fully nice animation on CaliPeg or something like that, because that I think has the nicest like for output. You still need to After Effects it a little bit.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But I think. But I mean, now I'm doing these little 3 minute clips, and I'm using like this app called Reels for storyboarding, and it lets me put animatics. Okay. And then I use I think it's Reels or Story Reels. Let me check what it says on the iPad. It's called Spiel Reel. Yeah, it's called SPIELREEL. I can do my animatics on that, and then you can in LumaFusion edit it up, clean it up a little bit, and then just cut up all the little bits into sequences, and then just in Rough Animator or CaliPeg animate your sequences, and then put it back into LumaFusion, and then you've got your little clips.
Man, if you don't come get this education, this dude is dropping knowledge bombs.
So I got that. But I still like my TV Paint. Like every now and then, like I'll have like I've got like 2 or 3 projects going on at the same time. So I'll have some stuff on the iPad and then some stuff on the Wacom.
Yeah. Do you have a preferred method when you're
on the iPad? Like I mean, you know what? At work, at my old job, I had like a Cintiq Pro, and I would use it to rest my iPad on it.
So nice. So if you can, you'd be on your iPad like almost
20.
You can do all of it. Yeah, I to be honest, the only reason I really have the Cintiq, one is because I'm a geek for technology, so I've got like a ton of tablets. So I have an iPad, and right now as well, like I actually for my brainstorming, I use like this. Was it possible to see this? Like it's like an e-ink tablet. called Onyx Books, and I use that to sketch out my ideas. And then I have, I also have like a Samsung one to just see what Android has. But if I could only have one, it would be just the iPad.
I hear
And
you.
I've got like I've got like a mobile studio pro that I sometimes hook up to my computer, but it's also there just so people, like some people, clients, if they see a Wacom, they feel it's like, oh, okay, this guy's legit.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
gives you the pass.
So I'm like, oh yeah, of course. So I use a Wacom, yeah, and they see the setup, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's a screen, so he probably knows what he's doing. And then I use a $5 app on my iPad to finish the job.
You're like, yes.
How do you spell? How do you listen? How do you spell spiel reel? How do you spell spiel reel?
Spiel.
S-E-I-E-L.
Like if you speak German, it's like toy in German.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't
So you
speak
use
German.
that for? I saw that app before. I didn't download it. But you use that for like storyboarding and then go into Calipeg with it, or what?
yeah, I'm just trying that now, just for this current project. Before, I always storyboarded in TV Paint, because it's just, I
Okay.
just think TV Paint's just very elegant because you've got all the scenes in one, and then you can edit as well inside it. So I can pretty much time and do stuff in TV Paint, but sometimes I just don't like loading up a desktop machine sometimes. So, or like I like. Actually, like I just like carrying my iPad. Like I do 50% of my work in a coffee shop. I just like the ambience of traffic and people
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
and
I used to
pigeons.
do that too, yeah. It just gets too quiet at home, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like I mean, I just need to get. Especially, I mean, here now in Australia, I live in my dad's house, and it's like this massive house with wildlife in the background.
Mhm.
But like when I was living in Hong Kong, I lived like in a studio apartment in the middle of the city. So I would sleep at home and then just find a new cafe around town.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, sweet.
Oh, there it goes. I think I found it.
What are you looking for?
Spiel
Spiel
reel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. I mean, it's not. I'd say it's the best on iPad, but it could do a lot more with being a little bit more easier. Maybe more, it could be more smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And like what I like about TV Paint, that I can keep all my sequences in like one file.
Yeah.
Well, here there's not even a folder system to just collect all your sequences on separate projects. So it's not perfect, but
Ooh, it's got a 2.3 in the App Store.
Whoa. What?
oh,
Yeah.
well, there you go. Guess who gave it 5 stars? Actually, not me. I gave it 1 star because I had a bug where it wouldn't fit my iPad and the UI would go off screen. But they fixed it now, and I fixed it to 4 stars because
Attaboy.
you need to work for 5 stars, not just handing out perfect scores willy nilly. Especially if I paid money.
That would be landed.
The peg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that?
To be honest, it was kind of difficult because it's more of an animation app, but
Sure.
just trying to put in betweens in and stuff like that, and I don't know, it just wasn't that good. I have to go back to it.
Yeah.
So what do you
Kind of
use
taking
now?
a bit of a break.
Oh.
Yeah. I know that they're supposed to be I know they had said that they were going to do like a specific storyboard app
Yeah.
down the road sometime,
Yeah.
Calipeg.
I thought there was another good storyboarder app that you guys were talking about one time in the group chat.
Storyboarder, I think. Yeah.
Storyboarder, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
That's
I've
what
got
Jack
that
was using, yeah.
Yeah. I just got a new
I think
laptop too, so I can start doing stuff on Windows again. I couldn't do anything on Windows for a while, so.
Oh, welcome back.
Nobody could
Yeah.
ever.
You mean everybody ever?
Hey,
You mean-
this laptop I got has got a Wacom digitizer in it.
Wait, really?
Oh, which one did you get? The Samsung Flex or something like that?
Yeah, the Samsung Book Flex. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks really sick.
I didn't know
It's
that.
pretty nice. The only thing,
Yeah.
my only complaint is that it's I've got a 15-inch version and it's only a 1080p screen, so it could use a little bit more pixels. But I kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
But the drawing on it is nice. I mean, it's like a Wacom, It's real nice.
That's cool.
Don't hurt
And I
yourself.
think Samsung does really good stylus text. Like, I mean, I've got like my little Tab S6 Lite, which is just like the cheapest one, but the pen's really good. Like, I actually kind of because it's got the sharp tip. I actually prefer it a little bit to the Apple Pencil because you can do nice line work.
Oh, nice.
With it.
I just got this phone too, the Note 20 Ultra, and it's got the stylus.
Nice pink color. What
Yeah,
was it on sale?
Mystic Bronze, actually. But no, it's got 120 hertz and it's got a 9 millisecond.
Nice.
Is that pink or mauve? Purple.
It's
Or is it-
bronze.
They call it bronze.
Mystic bronze.
Yo,
It's
that's
not any
not-
kind of bronze.
Dude, don't let them lie to you. That is not bronze.
Thank you. That is.
It's shiny.
That is rose
Shiny,
gold
that's all I-
AF.
You got yourself a mauve phone,
Your phone is blushing.
like Sunday morning grandma hat color phone.
There you go. You just
With a
spent
matching
$1,400
stylus,
just to
though.
get
That's kinda
mocked
cool.
by a bunch of nerds.
Yeah. Hey,
But
live
I
your
mean,
life.
the drawing on that is really nice.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like,
Cool.
it's got.
You know, you can get TV Paint for Android and it's free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you just have to ask
has a
them.
storyboard
Just have
in
to
it?
steal it from someone's desk.
Which
And that-
one?
It had a storyboarder in it. A
Well,
storyboard.
TV Paint. It's got no, the way it's set up, you can storyboard in it. But like, because like what I do when I do shorts in it, I'll storyboard, put together an animatic, and once it's approved, I can just go on top of the storyboard, just layers, and just start keying up my frames and animating in it. So it's just all the same file. Even my backgrounds are in the same. So I really like it that like I'm pretty messy. So instead of having like hundreds of files everywhere, it's all in the one file, and then you just look around inside the file.
Nice.
So, and if you're using TV Paint, it's awesome because you've got like you do on your Android device, just quickly thumb out what you need, and you just send it to your computer, and then finish it up there.
Yeah, that's why I just started doing the Clip Studio because they gave me 6 months free.
Yeah.
So it syncs up to the cloud like that, and I did a little sketch on the phone, and now I'm finishing it up on the laptop.
Did you get?
I think anybody with a Samsung
Yeah,
can do it.
they give it to anybody because I just downloaded it on my Tab S6 Lite that I bought like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And so they were like, "Oh, this guy just bought a cheap tablet. Yeah, here you go. Here's 6 months of software." And it runs surprisingly good because like games run on it trash, but I'm surprised that the drawing experience is still really good on that little thing.
Huh.
It's like I downloaded some games as well as to see because like whatever, and then I'm like, oh yeah, and then this is not gonna be playing games on this, but then like the drawing like art flow and TV Paint all work on it, and I'm like in Rough Animator, they're all like you can get all your ideas out, and then if you're stuck on an island with nothing else, this will at least do the job.
That's nice. Carlos can't get out of the Apple ecosystem. He's stuck in there.
I'm way too
pro. And what I do to it is that I installed the software I need for work, and then it hasn't been on the internet ever since. So I don't get any pop-ups or anything else. My software works, and then if I need to do anything else, I just plug it into my Mac. So I can still work on it remotely without my Mac because it's not my primary computer, but I got TV Paint, Sketchbook Pro on it, and then I'm yet to install Toon Boom Storyboard because a friend's hooking me up with that, and then but that's it, and then that way it works fine.
Yeah.
Like I can't use it as a Windows. I'm like you, like I can't. I experiment with other stuff, just so because I hate being that guy who's just like shilling for a multi-trillion-dollar company.
Right.
So because Apple doesn't deserve it from me. But
Yeah. Yeah. And I get it, Lance. But for me, I like to, especially when my brain is ready to work, if I turn on the computer and then I have to update the virus thing, and then I have to like download a zip file, and then I have to,
so yeah, you have some secret ambitions to be that computer builder dude.
I do not. With as serious as if I can get around it. You click the start button and you get, okay, fine. All of that is cute. You know what I do? I do Command Spacebar and I start typing Photoshop and Photoshop shows up.
I don't even do that.
Yeah,
me too.
Oh, check this out.
Windows
this out.
S, and you can do the same thing.
I can take my phone. I can record something and then I say share.
Speaking of how reliable my iPhone, Mac, and iPad, the airdropping thing is just, and then so she's for her, like I tried to tell her that maybe I try to convince her it's easy. You can have my old Mac, and then she's like, nope, I don't want it. And for her, like some people, it's just easier.
Right, I get it. It's like by the end of the day, she's a Windows head. Fine, handle your business. Mm-hmm. But then let me tell you the story about when she started deleting the DLL files because she said that she didn't install those things. See what I mean?
But you can get into your Mac and do the same thing now. Delete some stuff you ain't supposed to.
Sure.
Right? Delete out all the photos.
You're 100% correct. But all of the important things are hidden, and so you have to purposely try to break the Mac where and I know all of this is, what's the word I'm looking for, not rhetorical, what I know
subjective or?
No, it's only stories that happen to me and I'm sharing and I'm living, you know what I mean? Anecdotal, thank you. I know it's anecdotal.
Yeah.
And it's probably my mom's fault because I used to have to fix that woman's computer every month. Every month. Mom, why did you take that out? I didn't install that. That's a DLL file. And for those people that don't understand what DLL files,
Still haven't heard that in so long.
Yeah, I had to put together comic books. How else are you gonna do it? You have to lay out your page.
That in like freehand?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just applied whatever graphic software they had. I just grabbed the boxes off the shelf at 2:00 in the morning when there was just my friend was there and nobody else, and I would just go there with my laptop and I'd install all this software on it. And that's how I learned like just how to use a computer as not a games machine. So that's pretty much so that's pretty much why I got into Mac in the first place. I'm not that anti-Windows. I just think that there's just like, I mean, if I'd have a Windows machine now, I just probably have Steam on it and they'd be downloading games all the time instead of. I mean, you can get Steam from Mac.
What you get used to after a while, you know. So
and
but yeah. The other part with Mac was the easy use, you know, of like, I remember because that's what I had when I started school. I had a little iPad, I had a little iMac, and you realize really quickly you can get all the programs you want just by copying them over. You were back in the day before they locked that.
Hell
dude,
yeah!
Literally, you copy all the programs over. And at home, I had the best rig set up. Like they're like, man, this is like the computer at school. I know.
It sure is.
But it sure is.
That's how I got my computer off by Ernie, my buddy, my college roommate that ended up being like just like my brother. He he was the lab tech at the school that we all went to, and I would just drop off my computer. He goes, "When do you need us?" I said, "When is."
But But it's kind of funny that like back then you had to pirate to learn the software, but now like you've got all this like kids these days, like it's either $5-10 or just like open source. Like get Critter, there you go, and you've got all your animation and drawings.
It used to be a badge of honor back in the day.
Really?
Like like literally you'd be like, there's no way I can have this program on my computer ever, but I need to learn this to get where I need to go, so I'm going to get this. Right. And then you become the secret software drug dealer.
That happened.
I know I became one. Because they'd be like, I need to get this 3D program or whatever, or I need to get Photoshop. Okay, cool, I got you. And then somebody else will say, nah, I have it over here. I was like, you don't want that one. You don't want to put that one on your computer.
This one is tested and
proven. People try to do the same thing, and it became a competition a little bit, which is so weird, the culture before how it is now. You know, because I would see no matter what school I went to back when I was in college, what art school, or you could talk online, people were all doing the same thing based on like how expensive those softwares were back in the day and how hard they were to get them, but like everybody was using them and learning them, and eventually you get them, and eventually you would pay for them too because you get a job or whatever. But like what does that say about like everybody back then to how everybody is now? Like I can remember a time where it's a Friday night, I'm a lab tech and I'm working till like midnight to open labs, so like, but you're bored because your homework's done. You've been doing like 3D while watching.
Everyone will kick in $5 for the pizza.
right. While watching Titan AE or whatever movie that gets you inspired.
Hell yeah,
and you literally like want to learn something more. You literally want to learn a new technique. And I remember like how the internet was before. It makes me sound old now. But how the internet was before, where like there was only 2 or 3. Yes, I know. Shut up. There's only 2 or 3 like places to go. Like for 3D, it was like CG Talk, it was 3D Total, and then a couple other like forum sites. For 2D, it was like if you wanted to be a
Pencil Jack.
Yeah, Pencil Jack.
And Concept Art.org and Drawing Board, I think.
Yeah. There was only those. Can you imagine, people that are listening? Can you imagine like what it was like when not to have a YouTube? Not to have like any of those, and then like only time you saw really good art is on those forums, and that's why people were just constantly in those all day. Teachers had to tell people to log off.
Yeah. Well, I remember when videos were emailed, like viral videos were emailed to you. You had it in your email box, and it was either going to be a virus or a funny video.
And 80% of those were porn.
It was. Streaming was just expensive. How much it's like to put a video online and play it, So
I think you guys had it pretty good early though in the US, because I remember when I left Australia in 2007, there was still like a capped to like internet. So if you had like used more than 10 gigabytes data, it was just completely like just astronomical, or they blocked your service. And that was the most expensive package. Normally you'd buy like 3 or 4 gigs worth of data at home, and then I went to Korea after that, and it was complete opposite, a lot faster and unlimited, and I was like downloading like DVD box sets because I was like, oh, so much data for free.
When did that pick up? That probably was like, I would say 2002.
What pick up?
I feel like when I first got there, it was still like, first got to college, I was still like, it was still like a desert. But then the internet really started picking up like 2001, 2002 or so.
What, internet usage?
In terms of like where the video usage and stuff started being online more readily available. Like the front pages of everything started to change. You started to see like Too Advanced and stuff like that. It was not just the flashes, but that started to show up. That's 2001, 2002.
Do you guys remember Icebox.com?
Yeah.
That was like the animation. That was like the first like full. It was Flash at the time. That's why you could do it.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's when Flash like took off in terms of like Flash video and all that stuff. Because think about like how all the front pages changed, and then like stuff started moving out of the forums and into like, oh, we could put this on the front page, or these studios like Too Advanced were showing up and like, oh, we have these cool videos up, and they were starting to see some kind of regular video codecs up on the net, and then then you start slowly starting to see like, oh, you can buy a tutorial video, but it's downloaded. You have to download it, and like, you don't know what it's gonna be like until until you download it, and so you don't know if it's good or not.
Yeah.
So it's just different time. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember getting all my references from magazines and collecting books and all this other stuff.
You know how much money I spent on magazines at Barnes and Noble? That used to be a hangout too. I'm a nerd.
Hell yeah.
No, because you guys have
a hangout too.
I think Americans, you guys didn't have you guys don't have the magazine culture like we had in Australia. We have like news agencies, which is just specifically for magazines. Like they sell stationery and stuff, but I used to buy a lot of video game magazines, and a lot of them were from UK and stuff. And I would also buy.
We had that here like crazy. Like if you knew about, like that's why I said Barnes and Nobles or what's the other one? Was Borders. Borders, like, and then you have like the specialty shop like Mitsubishi Market had the one, so like I'd go over there and get all the like all the Korean and Japanese imports ones, and like it's like I should just do. There's no way I can do it because I used to collect those books and like art books and stuff like that, but I want to know how much money I spent where I could have been eating a lot better because those magazines were $14 a pop.
Yeah,
$14.99 a pop. And I would buy 4 of those, because you got to do the 3D one, and you get the CD, and you got to do like I did the concept
that never worked.
Yeah, a couple times the Adobe ones always felt like they were like $18, like $18.99 or whatever, almost $20. That's another.
That's much cheaper. I used to buy like Juxtapose. That was like $7, I think, or something like that. So that was cheaper, and you get to. And at first, it's like, oh, they're a bunch of indie artists, but then you find out it's the same indie artist in every issue. So,
yeah, because then that's a whole thing.
Also, all ads.
Right, that too. It's like it's like 10 pages of content and 30 pages of ads.
I'm not gonna lie though, those ads do look pretty cool.
Right, but it's like a lot of it is just like a very
really cool. But
yeah. Well, then we learned about that a little bit too, Carlos, with somebody on the show. I can't remember who it was. Was that market? I don't know if you heard about that too, Alex, of like getting on the market of, getting published and being your tutorial in image effects or 3D total. I always thought that would have been cool to get one day. Yeah. And and there's a way of doing that too from networking and it snowballs.
Yeah, and I totally missed the magazine boat. I did a couple. I did covers for expat magazines in Shanghai, but that's like I don't even know. That's like 2000 and late. So it was like 2010 or 12. Like nobody got the information from it. Was like these magazines that all the restaurants and expat places would be hand to. So where all the white people hung out in China. So I did some covers there. But yeah, with like one thing that was weird about American magazines, and what's the deal? Like British, Australian magazines don't have this, but if you buy an American magazine and you just shake it up a little bit, like a ton of cards would come out.
Yeah.
That's those ads, right?
Yeah. We didn't have those. That's your thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Direct mail.
You gotta shake it out at the bookstore before you bring it home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your car might get set on fire.
You'd find those cards later everywhere, and it will always be like no one ever.
But not only that, I couldn't even
bought a subscription or a school. Like I don't.
But it was all for like you had to be like a U.S. citizen to participate in whatever these cards were anyway. So I was like, I was buying this like 3 months out of date magazine, all these things. Because like back in the mid '90s, like I love all these like American like GameSpot and EGM and all the I liked video games a lot as a kid, and Wizard magazine as well. And all these magazines would come like 3 months late. If you wanted to buy them at like the proper exchange rate, or you could buy a double or triple the cost at specialty stores to get them on time. And I was like, my McDonald's salary isn't covering this. And they were giving me like the minimum 5 hours shift a week. So
that's hilarious.
You'd ever get those magazines that were all in Japanese or all in Korean or whatever,
Yeah, I would buy those as well.
I spent so much money, and I'd be like, and some of them was some fire like 3D programs. There was a couple of them I was like, I don't know how to use you, but I know you're good. I just know it. Like it's, and then it'd be like, but then you sit there and you try to read it. I would sit there and try to read. Man, I was young and dumb. I would literally sit there and try to go through those and just look at the pictures or whatever. I'm like, I'm just gonna look at the pictures, you know. But man, I don't even know if that market's still even there, really. Those.
Oh, man, print. That's the thing that like it's like I love drawing as well, and just like looking at comics. I just think that like just like everything I'm interested in is dead. 2D animation and print media. So
comics are still going on though. I mean, it just didn't feel right the same. I know the image effects, and I was trying to do the online thing. It's just not the same in a PDF because. To me, I don't know. Maybe I'm old too. I feel like I could probably find this somewhere. I don't instead of paying for the official PDF. You know.
I mean, the thing was like I remember the saddest thing. I was like watching like back when Comixology was still on iPad.
Oh yeah.
And they'd have the top grossing apps, and the fact that Comixology represented the whole industry pretty much, the whole comics industry, and it didn't make as much money as Angry Birds. And a couple of I was like, that is not a good sign for an industry.
That's not fair, though.
App Store charts. It was just what the app makes in it. And then here you buy comics, it's got DC, Marvel, Indie, whatever, Indie Press, and all this other stuff there. And all those comics sold less than whatever Angry Bird. I don't even know, because like I thought it was like a free app or something. And I don't know what the in-app purchases for that were. Just flicking birds and then that's it. Maybe extra lives, whatever. Made more money than
that's where we are as a society.
Comics and stuff as well, but it's like not like it's just small. Like you can't do crazy ideas. Like I mean, I'm not like either you go to something established, but I think those are like I think Marvel comics are just there to feed the movies, right?
Right. Well, I mean, it still has a really the comics.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where they're pulling from, but it's not feeding the movies.
You have your diehard comic readers, but that is such a small group compared to what they're pulling with the movies. I mean, you could these days you can even take your girlfriend to a Marvel movie, and she's not even mad at you.
Oh, mine would be.
Your mom wouldn't?
Oh, mine would be. Oh, she hates comics. She hates comics, anime. She's old school, like, and she's Japanese. Like the only Japanese person I know who doesn't like anime.
Oh, I'm gonna talk to her.
Did she get kicked out of the country?
Sorry. Well, she's not in Japan, is she? She's in Australia now.
I mean, I hate being right all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to fill in the gaps. I'll let other people fill in the gaps, but we lived in China together for 10 years and now Australia. We're not in Japan, so just saying.
Just saying.
Hey,
moving on.
Yeah. No, but I think with what I meant by feeding it, that I think that wouldn't they have like a bunch of story ideas in the comic? They stand, and then pretty much the movies they just pick what works from the comics, and then they feed it that way.
Yeah, and they make their own universe. They have to make their own. So it's not even. That's why I say at this point it's not even coming from the comics anymore. It's its own canon. The original run of like 2 or 3.
My bad. I take it all back. I take it all back.
And then it started getting crazy. Just like
but like all the Spider-Man movies were trash.
They picked the bad Spider-Man places.
The first Spider-Man was good.
The way you say it. Listen to yourself.
That's so confusing.
Your inner self doesn't even believe you.
He's like, hey man, you see how he was all
was like, no.
Right when that sentence started, that yield sign came up. He's like, but it was no, wasn't it?
I started thinking about Spider-Man 2 and 3 and everything else they made, so I was like, I got shocked a little bit.
I mean, when they
got Sandman. Sandman could very easily have been a really cool thing, but he got sucked up by a vacuum, and now we're just like, and I liked the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, but they didn't bring in the bank like Iron Man did. And I think what happened
quality.
was the writers, they started bringing the writers from the comic books into the movies. And then, like, because when you're writing for movies, you can get good at that stuff, but you're not reaching the audience that is the comic book people. Those writers, they have the sweet spot. They understand what gets those geeks going.
But then it was the directors too, because they didn't really have really good directors.
Yeah.
With none of the ones. I mean, I could be wrong with some of Spider-Man, but like they weren't good. They were good.
You don't like Sam Raimi? You don't like, was it Sam Raimi, right? That's the
for which version? Which
the Tobey Maguire emo one.
I didn't.
Oh.
Emo. Listen to what you just said.
He wasn't like an emo in one of them.
He was.
I never
doing his little
doing his
dances
but
and
Sam
stuff.
Raimi is like a director. He did the whatever the Bruce Campbell films.
Yeah. I mean, he could be a good director, but like I think that was a casting problem. I think Kirsten Dunst shouldn't have been Mary Jane. I think Tobey Maguire shouldn't have been Spider-Man. I think it should have been like they got it right later on, even though they got Electro wrong with Jamie Foxx. But what's the other guy's name?
Yeah,
that guy.
Was his name?
That guy is a Spider-Man.
The dude with the long head.
Right. Yeah, but he was.
His head was naturally shaped the way comic books drew him. His shit was a triangle.
But think about it.
Bringing Spider-Man back to animation. Did you guys like the multiverse, Enter the Multiverse Spider-Man?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got that bad.
That was amazing.
I mean, and that's why the Spider-Man now was so good. The new Spider-Man, from the Marvel side of things.
Multiverse was outstanding.
That's an amazing Spider-Man. Like that is good because he's believable. He has Stan Lee's like a likability in terms of being quirky but smart and all that other good stuff. And it was great. Like Tom Collins. Is it Tom Collins? No. What's his name? What's the new Spider-Man's name? It's another British dude that talks American, but whatever. We can,
that's appropriation. You can't
I don't know.
British
Idris Elba.
American actors.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland's good. Like Idris is the same way though. Those British guys with that perfect American accent. It's great.
And Andrew Garfield is the one with the long head.
But the turning point was like the level of quality they wanted to put in to the movies. Like I still think from one of my favorite directors is like one of my top. He's in my top 5 directors, current directors. Of like directors John Favreau. Like I think
that dude.
You was in City. You was in what's the movie with no, Old School. I think Old School.
Oh, I know which one. The one he was like casting for a movie thing, right? Like his first movie.
Come on, Old School from Chicago. Vince Vaughn was in the movie with Vince Vaughn.
It's not Sidekick. Something side.
I got his IMDb up. Let's see.
Come on, it's classic.
But anyways,
Swingers.
I'm going to
Swingers.
Okay.
Like that's a classic movie anyway. But like his storytelling and his directing was in Iron Man was in a way where it felt like Steven Spielberg-esque, and that's what made it big. And that's a big thing to say. But I put him up in that because everything he's done afterwards, even the side stuff he's done, and his innovation when it comes to like using new technologies. And stuff like that. Like something about the way he does his storytelling with big budget films. It's kind of got like that Spielberg-ish to it, and it gave it that twinkle, that sparkle. And then
Charlie, I'm going to call out on one movie. I walked out of Jungle Book, the live action thing, a very, very angry man. He directed the Jungle Book. I was like it? No, because what he did was, he says, it looked like to me like somebody was just too inspired with Christopher Nolan's Batman, and they did that to Jungle Book, because you've got this like moody, angry-looking Baloo, and then they've got the Jungle Book songs in it. They've got the Bare Necessities songs, and you've got this creepy bear singing Bare Necessities to a lonely kid, and I'm like,
It's never going to work with realistic, because animals are scary in real life.
Yeah.
You're never gonna feel good about a boy around a panther.
You want to see how serious animals are?
You know what I'm saying? Like it was so good in terms of the CG and stuff, in terms of like how they looked.
Yeah.
That like that was the hardest thing to gonna overcome. So it had to give it a level of danger because it's
What's this for Jungle Book?
for Jungle Book. Think about it though,
Oh.
and I think that's what the angle was.
You know what?
To
For me,
tell
it
the
was
story
just
of survival.
for me, it just kind of it didn't pick a direction. Is it a homage to the Disney film or is it a homage to the book? And it kind of tried to do both, and then for me, they were just way too constructed.
Yeah, I feel like it was closer to the book, just because of like even
is
the scene
fine.
with the snake. It was like, that's like really, whew,
which is
creepy.
fine. But then the songs completely took you out of
The
that.
songs is like the like uncanny valley, like the scary bear trying to sing. You know you can rip your head off.
But
Yeah,
do
but
you
it's not
guys
just that, but
think?
it was just like out of place. It just felt
Yeah.
out of place. It's just like you watch Dark Knight and you're like, that's cool. And then Robin comes in complete colors and then starts, having all the, like imagine Dark Knight. For some reason, he started as a homage to the TV series. He started having little sound effects coming out of his
There's
punch
Dan.
stuff.
Pow.
All the characters
Yeah.
and the villains start doing
So that's
that.
so that's where the songs felt for me. So that's where like the songs felt for me. So you've got this like moody Jungle Book, and I'm like, okay, so that's the direction they're going. And then they start singing, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't know. On TikTok as well. Both of them, Sloppy Bunny Tunes.
Okay. Same account name, or same name on both.
Same account name.
Perfect.
And then, really, that's really all my socials. Like,
Awesome.
I should. I've got a YouTube thing, but I don't do anything on that. So there's nothing. I haven't posted it. It's not curated properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the best way to find me. Just those two. That's
Awesome.
keep it simple.
Awesome. Thanks again. And I'm sure we're gonna probably have you back on for like some drawing shows or something.
Anytime. This is fun. I love
Awesome.
talking animation with people, especially since at home I can't talk animation with my girlfriend or my cats.
Nice.
Not saying I don't. I'm just saying it's just not as fun.
For sure.
Hey, Landon, how about you? If people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
You can find me at Landon R. Wilson, Instagram, Twitter, or landonrwilson.com.
Excellent. Thank you, sir, for taking time and cleaning up your closet for, hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. Appreciate
And
it.
get out of that office before she gets back home.
Nice.
Hey, Charlie, how about you?
You can find me in a couple different places. You can find me at cargocollector.com. So that's Charlie B. Williams. You can find me on my Instagram.com/CharlieBW3, Pinterest.com/CharlieBW3 for inspiration and all torso resources. Check it out and get it in your life.
There you go. And even though he wasn't here, I think he's limiting that. Not limiting it, but he's cut down a lot. But Sketchbook Jack, just take a look around and you'll find him. Me, I'm Carlos. You can find me at coconutjustice.com/coconutjustice and subscribe there. We're coming out with a lot of really cool stuff. I'm working on a video that stopped my heart today. I will be finishing up the edit soon, and you guys can see how I almost had a heart attack. With that being said, this is Sketch Zone. YouTube.com/SketchZone Podcast. Sketch Zone Podcast, I believe, on Instagram. And yeah, just find us. We're here, and we try to be here. We try to be here every week. So if you can, join us live. You see how we like to include the audience in the conversation. Long Arm, sorry, but it was you joined us a while ago, and I didn't give you a shout out, but shout out Long Arm and Edge Deep, Dylan, Dylan Draws. Yeah, and thank you guys again for taking the time and coming and hanging out with us and geeking out. And go get away from Windows. Go get you.
I got my iPad right here.
Go ahead.
I got my Game Boy right here.
Go ahead with your pig phone.
Mother
All right, everyone, have a good week.
Okay, see you later. Take care. Cheers.